Hello, this is Ariadne Rainbird talking today about Isidorus' second hymn to Isis, which was carved on a pillar of the temple of Hermouthis and Isis in the early 1st century BCE. In my video on Isidorus' first hymn to Isis, we saw how the composer focused first on Isis's broader appeal as universal goddess, worshipped by Greeks, Thracians, Syrians and Lycians, and then narrows down the focus to Isis as an Egyptian deity, particularly associated with the temple on which the inscription is written. In the second hymn, Isidorus focuses more on a localised form of Isis. The poetic style also shifts from dactylic hexameters to elegiac couplets, which lend a more personal and urgent feel to the poem. The poem begins with praises to Hermouthis-Isis as a goddess of agriculture and salvation, praising her as a discoverer of life and crops. But by the end of the first verse, it focuses on her as dwelling in the temple, with her mate Soconopis, formerly Sobek, as the earlier named divine pair Renenutet and Sobek, whom the temple was originally built in honour of. In the second verse, a divine son of this divine pair is mentioned, Anchois. This deity is not mentioned in any other inscriptions other than at this temple, and it is unclear which god he is or whether he is a purely local god. Isidorus identifies Anchois with the rising sun and places him in the heavens, and thus Anchois could be another name for Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, and thus reinforcing the syncretism of Isis with Hermouthis. Hermouthis-Isis is also identified with Agathotike, good fortune, and Soconopis is identified with the Agathos daemon. Renenutet was also connected with Shai, the Egyptian goddess of fate. Thus, this local triad of gods became assimilated with the triad of Isis, Osiris, Horus, and it reflects the pattern of triads of divinities, which was widespread throughout ancient Egypt. The practice of assimilating local Egyptian deities with more widely known Egyptian deities was something which was happening in Egypt long before the Hellenistic period. In the second verse, Isidorus also connects the human condition to that of events in nature, such as the human desire to have children and to reproduce, with the natural fertility cycles of the earth and the flooding of the Nile. Hermouthis-Isis persuades her consort Soconopis, who, as the crocodile god Sobek, was associated with the flooding of the Nile, to make the Nile flood at the right time. She leads him over the land, and this leads to the happy and fertile time when the earth is renewed and the crops grow again. Isidorus' prayer for fertility is grounded in the rhythms of Egyptian agriculture and connected with the flooding of the Nile, and specifically at the time that it occurs at Hermouthis. In the last verse, Isidorus turns his focus from the natural cycles to social relations and duties to the gods, focusing on reciprocity, remembering the gifts people have received from the gods, and remembering to give back to them in the form of tithes. He also mentions a festival of Hermouthis-Isis in the Egyptian month of Pakon, a local festival of the goddess's abundance at the end of the harvest season. At this festival, local people would bring a tithe of their produce to offer to the goddess as thanks for what they had received, returning a portion of her abundance back to her. Isidorus closes the hymn by asking the goddess to grant him a share of her gifts as well as for children, reflecting the earlier connection in the hymn between the earth's fertility and human fertility, addressing her in her local name, Hermouthis-Isis, Mistress Hermouthis. He adds a couplet after his usual signature, stating, that the gods heard his prayers and granted him kind favour. I will now recite Isidorus' hymn to Isis Hermouthis, number 2. Hail, Agathotike, greatly renowned Isis. Mightiest Hermouthis, in you every city rejoices. O discoverer of life and cereal food, wherein all mortals delight because of your blessings. All who pray to you to assist their commerce, prosper in their piety forever. All who are bound in mortal illnesses, in the grip of death, if they but pray to you, quickly attain your renewal of life. How truly the Agathos daemon, mighty Soconopis, dwells as your temple mate, that goodly bestower of wealth, creator of both earth and the starry heaven, and of all rivers and very swift streams. And Anchios, your son, who inhabits the height of heaven, is the rising sun who shows forth the light. All indeed who wish to beget offspring, if they but pray to you, attain fruitfulness. Persuading the gold-flowing Nile, you lead it in season over the land of Egypt as a blessing for men. Then all vegetation flourishes, and you apportion to all whom you favour a life of unspeakable blessings. Remembering your gifts, men to whom you have granted wealth, and great blessings which you give them to possess all their lives. All duly set aside for you 1/10 of these blessings, rejoicing each year at the time of your festival. Thereafter you allow them as the year rolls round again, every one to rejoice in the month of Pachon. Joyful after your festival they return home, reverently, and are filled with a sense of blessedness that comes only from you. Grant a share of your gifts also to me, Lady Hermouthis, your suppliant, happiness and especially the blessings of children. Isidorus wrote it. Hearing my prayers and hymns, the gods have rewarded me with the blessing of great happiness.